Boomers claim that Gen Z doesn't know how to work hard or be disciplined, while Gen Z is kicking and screaming to hold down a job for longer than 3 months. In this video, let's sit down together and spend some time discussing how these new generations just can't seem to hold down any sort of long-term income. And despite which generation you're from, if you can personally relate to anything discussed in today's video or simply have just been enjoying my daily doomer commentaries over here on the page, then don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, opinions down below, and subscribe to see my daily videos right here on the channel. And a huge shout out to the handful of you guys checking out those links down below in the description. Those are always some of the best ways to support me and the content around here. Now, let's begin this shit show.
Every time people complain about Gen Z, I'm always like, wait, look to your left and right. We raised them. I love them, but the difference between them and other generations is they want the why. They're not the I told you so generation, which I think right on. Get the why. I think one of the things about rewarding effort as success, we don't reward effort as mastery, but we should be rewarding effort with the most precious resource we have, our time. Hey, I see you busting your butt over here, doing great work. Your deliverables a little bit off. Let me sit with you, coach you, mentor you, and let's get it right.
So that's validation and encouragement.
That's it, and coaching.
Now, some of you guys might have just saw this video and might be thinking to yourself, wow, some of these boomers, these old people, these elderly people are starting to finally wake up. But I also don't really agree with that group think. I've never really been a huge fan of these overall group labels that, young people are dumb or old people don't get it, or it's just, a back and forth thing, because it's always an individual thing, I truly believe. I've worked with old people that are losers and don't really want to get ahead and never really had any desire to do so in the first place. And I've also worked with younger people who are in the same category. And I've worked with ambitious people who are very smart and have a lot of knowledge and experience despite where they're at from every generation. So I think we have to really focus on the said individual versus just, where they're from, how old they are, or all these different metrics. But at the end of the day, do you personally feel like the younger generations don't get a really fair shot in the modern society? Being that a lot of people do kind of feel they are entitled, they feel like they deserve more than they, have been working for. When some of these boomers, they've been able to work decades and decades and decades to earn where they're at, but some of these younger folks, they feel like they never even have the chance to get their foot in the door to even be able to start that endeavor. So what do you think? And do you also think maybe these young folks are just not really, going down some of these right sectors of employment? Maybe they're just trying to all be these online social media influencers. All these young people are trying to be CEOs, and really, that's not the spot or position for everybody who's been born. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments.
Without addressing these problems over the past 30 years, look what happened, boomers. No one fixed the housing supply when they saw that it was a disaster in 2012. They allowed private equity to come in and start buying up houses. That could have been stopped. They could have done something about the Social Security disaster way earlier. They didn't. They saw that the birth rates were starting to go down. We saw that the college debt was continuing to increase and people weren't getting jobs at the value that they should have. The national debt, you watched it over 30 some years go from $4 trillion to $35 trillion and no one did anything about it because you didn't have the ability to communicate like we can. Now we're calling out the bullshit. We just want to live a chill life. We just want to buy a house, have some kids, and hang out. And we want to go on vacation for 4 days and not sit around and go, this is going to end soon. Am I going to have a job when I get back? How am I going to pay my mortgage? You don't want a generation full of hopelessness, because the worst thing we can possibly do is not have children, because then it fucks our population. And secondly, when people are stressed, their mind isn't open. We need our minds to be open to creative ideas and innovation. There's so many brilliant ideas that are just locked into these stressed out minds because people don't have time to sit on a park bench and dream or create. This is why we need to make a change in this country, and we need to work together.
Now, I think it's always been throughout history that there's always been a group of people throughout every generation that's been loud and proud, like to complain. They always have some, pot to piss in. They always have some sort of, nitpicky identity for whichever situation topic is at hand. But in reality, I think the younger folks, the Gen Z, Millennials, and especially Gen Alpha, they have much more accessibility to shout out with their megaphones, because they have more megaphones to shout out from. They have social media. Everybody can build their own platform online and build their little bit of an audience, which, depending on how successful they are with that, how well versed they are with their words, and how captivating they are with their appearance, and how they can, pitch their message, it really does give some of these individuals a larger say than even some of these large platforms that are paid for by large organizations and are backed by certain agendas. When I think this is overall a good thing for society, but at the same time, still feels like even with the big platform, most of these individuals can't really have a much change in society. So, what is the solution? Is the solution just for everybody to own nothing and be happy? We're all just going to be relying on AdSense, which even at the end of the day, if you're working for YouTube or TikTok, you're still not exactly self-employed. You're still just working for Google or whatever, social media that can still just pull the carrot from, from under you, or you can pull the rug from under you, or pull the carrot from over your head. Anyway, it's all a game. It's all a joke. That's how money works, and it's always a scheme to keep us in a box and not really understand what's really going on in the world. And what do you think?
This is what the cost of living crisis looks like in one chart. Have a look. Right now, the increase we've seen in interest is taking 5% from household incomes. That's the impact of rate hikes. And the increase in tax is taking another 5%. And the increase in prices, that's inflation, is taking another 5%. But on the other side of the ledger, incomes have only grown about 10%. So combined, households are facing a 15% problem and a 10% solution. That means real household disposable incomes are falling at 5%. But that's just the average. For a lot of people, it's a whole lot worse than that. When you look at it like this, the cost of living crisis is only getting worse.
Now, with living expenses only seeming to rise and pretty much every single category only seeming to increase with the interest rates and the rising cost, and there's always more to buy every single season. And now even the appliances are, even when you buy them brand new, you have to buy subscriptions, monthly subscriptions. You can't even use your printer. You can't even print out any of your work papers unless you have a monthly subscription for your ink. You can't even, use your refrigerator, can't even make ice in the freezer unless you pay a subscription fee. Your washer and dryer eventually won't even work without a monthly subscription fee, even in your own home. So with the current modern society being completely based off money, which it's always been, but now more than ever, do you think capitalism is finally reaching its peak? Do you feel like now the consumer is starting to get more of the backlash than the benefits in terms of all the costs and all these systems? Or do you just think this is just people complaining, people being negative, and we're just kind of on a downturn that will eventually swoop right back up? But what do you think? Feel free to let me know down below in the comments. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up another video discussing our shitty economy, how pretty much everybody throughout all generations are struggling, and how money just does not seem to stretch as far as it did not so long ago. I greatly appreciate everybody who continues to check out my channel and support these daily videos, as well as a handful of you guys. Check out those links down below in the description. Those are always some best ways to support me and the content around here. It's never expected, but much appreciated. Those have really gone such a long way, and they're really far and few between, but whenever I get the emails, and some of you guys have been checking those out, it always blows my mind. It makes me extremely appreciative of the support I have here on the platform. So yeah, life's kind of been kicking me while I'm down lately. I really hoped I was going to be able to get my shit together and get kind of ahead of myself throughout the end of the month, when honestly a bunch of direct deposits hit, a bunch of bills I didn't expect coming in, and I now kind of found myself trying to pick up the pieces like every other month. But everything will figure itself out. God will, present the path, and I'll find my way. But either way, I hope you enjoyed. That's kind of it for me today in this video, but hope to see you in the next one. And yeah, so bye.